Hello everybody and welcome to our very last meeting for this council term. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today on the Wednesday the 21st of October 2020. Live streaming. As the meeting chair, I give my consent for this open council meeting to be streamed live, recorded and published online in accordance with council's live streaming policy and governance rules. The chair and or the CEO have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. Thank you. Virtual meeting statement. The COVID-19 Omnibus Bill 2020. I think I've struggled with that every time. Provision allows council meeting attendance by electronic means. The requirement of this meeting being open to the public is satisfied by the meeting being streamed live to council internet. In the event of technical issues with live stream, the meeting will be adjourned. Councillors are deemed as being in attendance if they can hear proceedings, they can see other members in attendances and can be seen by other members, and they can be heard to speak. A reminder to everybody to please turn off your mobile phones. I'll now go to, if I could ask one of our retiring councillors, Councillor Rothfield, to read the Statement of Acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Bass Coast Shire Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first Australians and recognises that they have a unique relationship with the land and the water. Council further recognises that we are situated on the land of the traditional owners, the Bunurong and the Boonwurrung, members of the Kulin Nation, who have lived here for thousands of years. We offer our respect to their elders past and present, and through them, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, wherever they may be.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. And if I could go to one of our other retiring councillors, Councillor Fullerton, to read the councillor statement.
Thank you, Mayor Tessari. All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on the individual merits of each item without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillors having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or even vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. So just a little side note here, reports contained within the agenda have been reviewed and are in line with the election period policy. So present and apologies, all councillors are present. I have no apologies. Declaration of interest, I have no declarations of interests put forward. If we go now to the confirmation of the minutes, so to the closed ordinary meeting held on the 15th of July, if I could ask that the minutes of the closed meeting on the 15th of July be confirmed. If I could have someone to move and second that motion, please. Councillor Ellis, and seconded, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour? Councillor Tessari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. For ordinary meeting held on the 16th of September 2020, that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 16th of September 2020 be confirmed. If I could have a movement and a seconder for that. Councillor Ellis and Councillor Rothfield. All in favour of? Councillor Tessari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield, Brown and Whelan. Carried. So this being an election period, where we would normally have public question time, Election period caretaker commenced at 12 noon on the 22nd of September 2020 and ends at 6 o'clock on the 24th of October 2020. Council will be operating under the election period policy during this time. Public question times will be paused for this meeting and will restart at the first meeting of the brand new council. Petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence, I have none. Notices of motion, I have none. Mayor and councillor reports this month, again being an election period, we have none. Okay, reports requiring council decisions. H1, planning application 190293, 58 Bruce Road, Silverleaves. Welcome back to work, Mr. Sturton, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council planning application 190293, which seeks the development of the land for a single dwelling and vegetation removal at 58 Bruce Road, Silverleaves. The application was advertised to surrounding landowners and occupiers, and a notice was placed on the site. Certain objections were received. The application has been assessed against the Bass Coast Planning Scheme, and it is found that the proposal balances the as-of-use right for a dwelling with the requirements of the planning scheme. It is recommended that Council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for 58 Bruce Road, Silverleaves. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sturton. Can I have somebody move and second the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Fullerton, and seconded? No? Councillor Fullerton, are you moving that motion, or are you putting an alternate motion? Sorry, Councillor Kent, Councillor Fullerton, you're on mute.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to move an alternative motion.
Okay,
And that is
so your alternative motion is
that the matter be deferred.
That the matter be deferred. Okay, have we got that on screen? Just asking governance. If we could all just pause 1 second. To all the viewers that are eagerly watching our production at the moment, we have been having just slight internet issues, so nothing's running real quick, but our governance is onto it. Not yet, but it will be in a minute. There it is. So is that how you read your alternate, Councillor Fullerton, that the council deferred planning application 190293 for 58 Bruce Road, Silverleaves, the report to a future ordinary meeting of council? Is that?
That's correct.
That's correct. Can I have somebody second that that motion? Not seeing any show of hands. No? Pam, okay. I will be giving a little bit longer time than normal because the internet is running quite slow. So Pam has seconded. So Councillor Fullerton, you can now speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this matter's been around for several months. The application has not changed, and there are issues to me which are of serious concern to the neighbours. There are non-compliant issues in relation to the offset of the building, the height of the building with the boundary offsets on the sides, and it's those issues which would cause material detriment to those neighbours, and they have not been addressed. I do not believe that a building surveyor will have the authority or will alter that is prepared to go and ask for a res code, because once this plan is stamped by council, that's what's being built. So I'm totally unhappy with the whole process of this particular application. It's too close to the neighbours' buildings, and it's 7.6 or something above the boundary, and it's only less than 2 metres off the boundary. So it's just wrong. It's non-compliant with the code, and those non-compliant issues are not being addressed in this application or in the recommendation. So, yeah, I just want it deferred until it's corrected and done properly, and so the neighbours have a chance to actually give their opinion on the height and the location of the building, among
Thank
other
you,
things.
Councillor Fuller. Thank you. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I feel that rather than rejecting this out of hand, I would like to see it deferred. The issues that Councillor Fullerton has brought up are weighty enough to have it reconsidered, I think. Our objective is to protect the amenity of the area, and I think that in order to do that, I think we should actually give it the time needed to correct what seems to be some issues which Councillor Fullerton has raised before and don't seem to have been addressed. So I support the decision to defer.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this alternative motion? Councillor Whelan.
Yes, I want to support the comments made by Councillor Fullerton in particular, that despite Council expressing its concern on this matter, so a couple of months ago, nothing's changed. And both in terms of what's submitted and the recommendations were given. And I think that goes to a systemic issue that needs to be addressed in future. I had other concerns about this development, but I've iterated those twice before and don't propose to do so again, other than to support the sentiments that Councillor Fullerton has expressed.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this motion? No. Councillor Fullerton. I come back up. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't discount in any way what the island councillors are saying. We've already deferred this on a number of occasions, at least twice, if memory serves me correct. So if we defer it again, I think it'll be the third time. I'm ready to make a decision on it. I think we should either grant the permit or knock it out, and I'm ready to make a decision, but let's see what happens.
Thanks, Councillor Brown. Would anyone else like to speak to or against the alternative motion? No. Councillor Fullerton. Would you like to speak to or put it straight to a vote?
I'd just like to comment briefly, Councillor Mayor Tessari. Yeah, look, in relation to what Councillor Brown was saying, yes, we had the option of simply refusing it, but just to give the applicant an opportunity to actually reconsider the design so that it is actually sits more comfortably with the neighbours, then I'm happy to have it deferred. I don't know if they're prepared to do that, but that height on the boundary, I'd hate to see that next to me, and I know the neighbours are of the same ilk, so I'm happy to put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour of the alternative motion to defer this to future ordinary meetings, please raise your hands. Councillor Fullerton, Whelan, Lasserve and Rothfield, and against Councillor Tessari, Kent, Lark and Brown, and that is lost.
Mr. Mayor, no, you didn't count. Councillor Ellis also was supporting.
Yeah, through the mayor, I don't think you saw me with my hand up in favour of the motion there.
Sorry, I didn't know. In fact, I'm not sure that your screen is still. Oh, yep, there it is. Okay, so I'll do the count again, if I could, please. All in favour of the alternate motion as it reads, please raise your hands. I'll wait a second for everyone's screen to catch up. Okay, so Councillor Ellis, Fullerton, Whelan, Lasserve and Rothfield, and against Councillor Tessari, Kent, Brown and Lark. So that motion is carried. Apologies, Councillor Ellis.
No worries. Blame the technology.
Will do. Okay, brings us to item number H2, planning application 2000042, 11 Fisher Street, Ventnor. Mr. Sturton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council planning application 200042, which seeks the development of the land for a dwelling, the second dwelling at 11 Fisher Street, Ventnor. The application was advertised to surrounding landowners and occupiers, and the notice was placed on site. 8 objections were received. The application has been assessed against the Bass Coast Planning Scheme, and it is recommended the Council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sturton. Can I have somebody move? Councillor Fullerton,
I have an alternative, Mr. Mayor.
you have an alternative. Councillor Fullerton,
I do.
if I could ask governance to put the alternative up onto screen. So to summarise, Councillor Fullerton, your alternative is to
refuse the application.
refuse the application. Can I have somebody second the alternative motion? Okay, Councillor Kent. Councillor Fullerton, you may now speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mayor Tresarri. Look, this is going to be 2 big houses on a 700 square metre block. It's just totally out of character with Ventnor. It's a holiday area. People have boats and cars and visitors, and it just doesn't work. Plus, to have 2 large houses blocking the view from, I know you don't buy a view. If you do, you buy the foreshore, but to have the houses behind it blocked out for quite a few blocks up the road, to me, it's just not in keeping with the neighbourhood, and the whole development is certainly not in keeping. So.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Kent.
With an expert like Councillor Fullerton, I don't think I could add anything further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kent. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this alternative? Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Fullerton. This is an overdevelopment. I think that it's interesting that this comes under our division of placemaking and our character. And I think they're 2 telling things. This is not within the character of Ventnor. I think that it doesn't enhance or protect the environment. And as Councillor Fullerton said, the car parking provision is not for any on-site visitation. So it certainly wouldn't keep the quality of the neighbourhood up to its standard, that the character that the neighbourhood expects. So I'd be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Whelan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I support the resolution too. And really, this development would be, the block would be all house and driveway. And I think that's just over the top of the place. It's unsealed roads and all, through Ventnor. The issue that I wanted to raise, and I flagged it earlier to some extent, is that with the distinctive areas landscapes, we're heading towards a situation where we will be defining town boundaries, one would hope, in legislation. And there is the expectation that goes back towards denser developments. I don't see that should occur in places like Ventnor necessarily, and we need some policy around that. This is getting ahead of that play, and I'm not sure what will come out of the statement of planning policy, but it needs to address those issues. And I think in the meantime, developments such as this should be put on, should not be agreed to.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this alternative motion? No? Okay, Councillor Fullerton, would you like to summarise or put it to a vote?
I think we've summed it all up, Mr. Mayor. I think we should just put it to a vote. Following on Councillor Whelan's comment that, it's also quite relevant that areas like Ventnor, like that area of Ventnor where there are no roads, there are no paths, no roads, and it's particularly difficult to actually see us adding more traffic to that area and more people. So until the roads are done.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour of the alternative motion as it reads to refuse the planning application, please raise your hands. Councillor Tassari, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Ellis, Rothfield, Brown, and against, and Laserve, sorry, and against, and Lark. Sorry, Councillor Lark, are you for or against?
I'm for the alternative motion.
For. I might just do that again if I can. I do apologise, but my internet is really struggling here at the moment. So if you could raise your hands again, if you are for the alternative motion to refuse the planning application. Councillor Tassari, Alice, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. And again, apologies for my internet. Item number H3, planning application 200080, 21 Highview Crescent, Surf Beach, to be introduced by Mr. Sturton.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council planning application 200080, which seeks the development of the land for a second dwelling at 21 Highview Crescent, Surf Beach. The application is advertised to surrounding landowners and occupiers, and a notice was placed on site. 5 objections were received. The application has been assessed against the Bass Coast planning scheme, and it is recommended that Council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sturton. Can I have somebody move and second the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Fullerton, and seconded. Councillor Brown. Thank you. Councillor Fullerton, you may speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Sarri. Look, this is a similar case with a dwelling constructed behind another. The big difference here, it's a much larger block of land. It's a single-storey dwelling that's being built at the rear. There was a very similar case for a much larger 2-storey house, which was voted against by council but approved by VCAT just 2 streets away. This one's actually compliant with much of the area, with much of the requirement under the scheme, and yeah, I'm happy to support this one. It's a totally different scenario to the previous.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, fully agree with Councillor Fullerton there. It is a larger block. I think there is some precedent within the surrounding area for a second dwelling on a block. So, and I think if it did go to VCAT, it'd be a harder one to justify. So I agree with Councillor Fullerton.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And after me is Councillor Surf, just to let you know, because my internet's okay. I'm actually not going to agree to this because despite what VCAT may or may not do, I'm going to be consistent in what I think, and that is that the loss of character in these smaller settlements is just something we shouldn't really accept. I can't see, looking at the overheads, that this is actually commonplace within the area that they're proposing. I again think that you've got dirt roads there, and I don't agree with really, as I say, jeopardising the character of these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Laserve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I totally agree with Councillor Rothfield. The precedent that we're setting now, you might say that the block is a bit larger than the one in the previous recommendation that we've just knocked out, but it is about character, neighbourhood character, and from the overhead, I mean, I just don't know what's wrong with people, why we don't want backyards when you're living in the country. That block, if it's divided into 2 as an area, would be 446 square metres, and I still think that's too small. So I'll be absolutely voting against this because I think that there's formed some kind of consistency with this, these residential areas, and only knows if they both put up wind turbines, how would that be in their backyard? So no, I think it's chopping it up too small.
Thank you, Councillor Lasserre. Councillor Whelan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I just want to make a couple of comments because I agree with Councillor Rothfield. There are some issues here that, in my view, remain unresolved. I agree with Councillor Fullerton to the extent this is quite a different proposal given the size of the block. I used to live just around the corner from here, and I must say that I didn't oppose a unit development next door to me when I lived there. But I think with the unmade roads and also the lack of policy ahead of the DAL and that sort of thing, I think for consistency, I will oppose this.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this this motion? No? Councillor Fullerton, would you like to summarise or put it to a vote?
Yeah, I'm confused now. I actually agree with the other councillors in relation to the increase of traffic in dirt roads, and given that Surf Beach will hopefully get the road scheme through very soon, although I don't know what very soon means. Yeah, I can certainly understand it being. I'm not sure what the other ward councillors are thinking, but yeah, I put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads, please raise your hands. Councillor Lark, Councillor Fullerton, Councillor Brown, and against? Oh, hang on, sorry. Councillor Tassari, Councillor Ellis, Kent, Whelan, Lasserre, and Rothfield. Lost. Sorry, I'm just getting myself organised here. I'm going to have to put the meeting on pause for a second because I'm having all kinds of internet issues here at the moment. I'm operating off a couple of screens and I can't see off one of them. So if I can ask everyone just to pause and hold steady and ask the comms team to adjourn the meeting for a minute. We'll just wait for comms. Okay, thank you and welcome back. Sorry about that. We were having technical issues that hopefully have been sorted out. Now, just before we adjourn the meeting, we voted to against the planning application 200080 for 21 Highview Crescent Surf Beach. So I now must put forward a procedural deferral. So the recommendation is to defer the planning application 200080 21 Highview Crescent Surf Beach report to a future ordinary meeting of council. If I could have somebody move and second that. Councillor Rothfield, seconded. Councillor Ellis, all in favour of that procedural deferral. Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown, and against Councillor Whelan. Carried. Item number H4, planning application 20011046 McHaffies Lane, Ventnor, to be introduced by Mr. Sturton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to council planning application 200110, which seeks the use and development of the land for a function centre at 46 McHaffies Lane, Ventnor. The application was advertised to surrounding landowners and occupiers. 11 objections and 2 letters of support were received. Since that time, 1 objection has been withdrawn. The application has been assessed against the Bass Coast Planning Scheme, and it's recommended the council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sturton. Can I have somebody move and second? Councillor Fullerton, and seconded. Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Fullerton.
Thank you, Mr. Sarri. Look, this has been, there's been stories in the paper and comments made in relation to this particular application, which have been nothing short of alarmist. There was a headline in the paper about some large convention centre being on the top of the, proposed for the top of the cliff at Ventnor. It should be noted that it's 900 metres from the foreshore. It's on a small parcel of land in a farming area. It has 3 cottages on it at the moment. The actual proposal is not to build a massive structure. The proposal is to use an existing shed for a function area for the guests staying at those lodges and also others. It's the sort of thing which is being encouraged in the planning scheme is for farm stay type of accommodation. It's a beautiful part of the world, and people would be loving to live there. The shed's quite historic. It's actually the site of the first cattle IVF system, which was brought into Australia many, many years ago. And the scientist who was performing it lived out there. This is where it all happened. So it's it's a nice area, and I'm happy to support the application.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think I support what Councillor Fullerton said, that the applicant has actually done a heck of a job in trying to address the issues, the concerns that the various submitters have made, and I think they've gone, to great lengths to do that. It is, as Councillor Fullerton said, it's an existing farm shed, and it's going to be converted into a small function centre, and it's going to fill a niche market, which is totally appropriate for a farming area. And in fact, in our planning scheme, we actually are encouraging tourism development to maximise the revenues of some of these larger holdings, and goodness knows, with the COVID and the economic fallout that we've all had to accept from this horrible year, goodness, we should be absolutely supporting things like this that are done in really beautiful taste. And as Councillor Fullerton said, just drive out there and have a look. It's absolutely gorgeous. And to me, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. And I support them, and I hope they do very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Whelan.
Yes, I'll be supporting this as well. I think the visitor economy strategy certainly supports this. I think what's got people particularly excited is the units or the accommodation units that have been established. I've had a look at them, and very well done and tasteful. But they're not a part of this proposal today. We're talking about a small convention in the building, as has been adequately explained. But I wanted to make the point that the visitor economy strategy certainly supports this sort of activity. Two things I think that have also been at issue are live music and the narrow road and being an unsealed road. I think they're manageable, and I think being managed through the recommendations that have been put to us by the officers in respect to that. And I'd like to see how it goes for a while, but I just hope the recommendations are put there are not too restrictive for a young couple who are trying to run a business, trying to make a go of it. So we'll see how that goes, I guess, and it's in good hands, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'll support this planning application, but I would just like to urge the applicants to. I mean, I'm sure they understand they're in the farming zone. They've got farms all around them. I'm not sure to what extent the surrounding farms are running livestock, cattle, horses, and the like. But I just urge the owners to do everything they can to make sure that they respect the farm nature of that area, and to make sure that the visitors are not interfering with livestock on surrounding properties, especially, you know, if they've got events running late at night. I don't know if there's going to be any calving going on, but those are serious livestock issues. And the owners may very well be aware of those issues and be willing to address them, but I just say that would be a very good outcome if they did everything they could to look after that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation as it reads? No. Councillor Fullerton, would you like to summarise or put it to a vote?
I think we could put it to a vote, Matthew. It's been summed up pretty well by the councillor. Just in relation to Councillor Brown's comments, my understanding is they've had fairly long discussions with the neighbouring farmers, but it's actually in an area where there are small acreages around it, so I don't see an issue.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Tessari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. Item number H5, planning application 200136, to be presented by Mr. Sturton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council planning application 200136, which seeks the use of land at Shop 3, 8 to 10 Forrest Avenue, Newhaven, to sell and consume liquor. The application was advertised to surrounding landowners and occupiers, and the notice was also placed on site. 8 objections were received. The application has been assessed against the Bass Coast Planning Scheme, and it's recommended that Council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sturton. Can I have somebody move and second this recommendation as it reads? Councillor Fullerton, and seconded Councillor Kent. Councillor Fullerton.
Yeah, I'm happy to support this recommendation, Mr. Mayor. There's a new cafe restaurant set up over there, and it's actually exceptionally well received by the community over there and others and visitors from this side of the island. And having a liquor licence, being able to have a glass of wine with lunch or dinner is an integral part of it. Also, you know, happy to support it. It's all part of the dining experience.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Kent.
Yes, this applicant has tried to address the concerns. He's even offered to reduce his trading hours from Thursday to Saturday and reduce it to an 8 p.m. closure. I would describe the shop as a deli with Mediterranean food and just having a nice wine out on the footpath. It's what we should be promoting, and I think it's something that Newhaven will look forward to and will utilise. It's a family-owned business, employing mum and dad and one of the grandmothers there too. So I wish them the best of luck.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yep, I'll be supporting this as well. As the other councillors have said, that it is an existing cafe, newly opened, and I think they have done what they could to address the concerns that have been expressed, and reducing their hours of operation. And I think, yes, as Councillor Fullerton said, it's part of your dining experience to have a glass of wine, and I think it's good luck to them.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Lasserve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree, and I think there's the village amenity that needs to be considered in the opening up of the street for that kind of al fresco kind of dining outside, or for those lunches and dinners, etc. That needs to be addressed. And I think that the community of Newhaven, as a village, really, they need to be able to have these kind of facilities. I think that there were some concerns in the objectors about toilet facilities and that, but they're addressed under the licensing act of the Liquor Licensing Act about a number of toilets facilities for men and women, so they will all be catered for. And I think that one of the other ones that was about the width of the street, I think that needs to be identified in the street area there, so that people can move back and forwards along the street without kind of bumping into people and tables and stuff. But I think that's something that we can work through. I think it's something post-COVID that we're trying to encourage in other places. So, you know, I think that we need to get behind some of our businesses and help support them in setting these things up so that we all have happier days. So I support the application.
Thank you, Councillor Lasserve. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No. Councillor Fullerton, would you like to summarise or put it to a vote?
Oh, look, I'm happy for you to put it to a vote, if necessary.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fullerton. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Lasserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. Item number H6, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, and for the second last time to be introduced by Ms Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council approval to appoint the named officers as an authorised officer under the Planning Environment Act 1987 and to revoke authorisation to officers that no longer require it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Jones. Can I have somebody, Councillor Rothfield, and somebody to second it? Councillor Whelan. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a procedural motion just to tidy up things that we have to tidy up. But one of the tragedies of this is I see that we are revoking Ms Jones's authority under this instrument. Terribly sad to see her go. And I just want to say, and we're obviously replacing Stephanie as under the instrument of appointment. But I just want to say a big shout out to Alison. AJ, so sad to leave you. I know we're not supposed to be doing this, but I'm going to, because how can I be punished? You are really an exceptional person. You are so exceptional. And it's not just because we share the same middle name, which we won't even mention because we both hate it, and we share the same football team, but you have been a great support to this whole council. Your intellect is something to behold. And I wish you well, and I know we all do, in the next challenge that you face. You're not far away, South Gippy, so good luck, and I'll be watching your progression up the ladder of success, as I'm sure you will be hitting. So thank you, and it's been wonderful working with you, AJ.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. And I agree with everything you said, even though you weren't supposed to say it, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Whelan.
Yes, I'd like to agree with everything Pamela has said as well. I'm transitioning you there, Councillor Rothfield, by calling you Pamela. So I think that's a welcome change. And also, I'm transitioning Alison and Ms Jones as we've been referring to. My understanding of the Planning and Environment Act and certainly other issues around planning and environment have been well enhanced by being able to discuss them with Alison. She's been an inspiration. She's an extraordinary person, and I think this is a further stop on what is a brilliant career. Congratulations, Alison.
Well said, Councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation as it reads? Councillor Fullerton.
Yeah, look, I just endorse everything that Councillor Rothfield and Whelan have said, and probably a coincidence that Ms Jones resigned the day after I advised I wasn't re-nominating for council.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Fullerton, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Rothfield, would you like to summarise or put it to a vote?
I think we can put this to a vote. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Lasserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. And now that brings us to item, sorry, I've lost my page, item number H7, council meeting schedule update. And for the very final time, Ms Jones to introduce.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for council to set the new meeting dates for November, December and February. This report is before council as council's governance rules require council to set meeting dates. The dates reflect the advice from the BEC that the declaration of the polls will not be expected until after the 13th of November. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Jones. Can I have somebody move and second the recommendation? Councillor Lasserve, seconded. Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Lasserve.
No, just a procedural thing, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Lasserve. Councillor Rothfield.
Similar, just we'll vote on it. Yeah.
Thank you. And anyone else like to speak to or against the recommendation? Councillor Lasserve, we put it to a vote.
Yes, please.
All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Lasserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. Okay, item number H8, financial statement and performance statement to be introduced by Mr Phil Malta.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to obtain principal approval from council for the financial and performance statements that are being submitted to the auditor. To seek a resolution of council authorising two councillors, the mayor and the deputy mayor, to certify the financial statement. To receive the council's investment portfolio in accordance with the council's investment policy. The audit committee have reviewed the financial statements and performance statements and have recommended, subject to there being no material changes requested by the auditor, that council adopt these. The auditor, the Victorian Auditor General's Office, has also subsequently provided clearance for the financial statements and the performance statement. Council is reporting a sound financial result that is underpinned by an underlying surplus of $2.5 million, $15 million additional revenue, mainly from unbudgeted developer infrastructure contributions, and a $2.3 million reduction in borrowings. This, coupled with ongoing investment in new assets as well as asset renewals, has contributed to the council's balance sheet strength, including an improved working capital ratio. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Phil Malta. Can I have somebody move and second the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Rothfield and seconded. Councillor Whelan. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Again, just this is another report that is really to meet legislative and internal requirements, reporting requirements, as Mr Phil Malta said. This has been to the audit committee, and it's basically an in-principle agreement or a support approval. Other than that, we've all gone through the draft statements, and they're certainly available for everybody to have a look at and peruse. I did notice an extra $15 million in what I thought was, first of all, revenue, but in actual fact, as Mr. Phil has said, it's basically the contributions from footpaths and other assets that we get through development. So that's basically covering off on that increase. But yeah, I'm supporting him, obviously. But we approve in principle the annual financial statements, the draft ones.
Thank you, councillor Rothfield. Councillor Whelan.
Yes, I support those comments by councillor Rothfield, Mr Mayor, and just to report that I was at the audit committee meeting that considered this, and they were quite comfortable with the work that Mr Phil Moulter and his team have done, and I think they need to be congratulated on that. So that's enough from me.
Thank you, councillor Whelan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against the recommendation as it reads? No. Councillor Rothfield, would you like to summarise, put it to a vote? Yep, all in favour of the recommendation as it reads. Councillor Tassari, Alice, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown, and against and abstain. Councillor Lark. Carried. Okay, brings us to the stat reports. If I could have somebody move and second that the agenda items I1 to I5 be considered as a block. Councillor Alice and seconded Councillor Rothfield. All in favour of? Councillor Tassari, Alice, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. Sorry, I've just lost my spot. If I could ask any councillors wish to discuss any of the reports? No. Request the councillor to move and second that the recommendations attached to agenda items I1 to I5 be adopted. Councillor Rothfield, seconded Councillor Alice. All in favour of? Councillor Tassari, Alice, Kent, Fullerton, Whelan, Lark, Laserve, Rothfield and Brown. Carried. Brings us to urgent business. I have none in front of me. So that brings us towards the end of the meeting. I'll just like to make a couple of quick statements if I can before I close for the meeting. So firstly, I would like to say to all of you Geelong and Richmond supporters, good luck on the weekend. You all thought I was going to say something serious, and I did it very well. So to all the Geelong and Richmond supporters, as much as it hurts me as a Hawthorn supporter to say, good luck to you both. And I know Councillor Lark is a Geelong supporter, so I'm pretty sure he's the only one on my screen at the moment that will have any joy watching on Saturday. So to Councillor Lark, good luck. Also to Pam's beautiful mum, good luck to her as well, who's a staunch Geelong supporter. To the Storm supporters, to the Storm supporters, go to them as well, and well done. Let's not forget the Melbourne Vixens, who won on the weekend and brought the premiership back to Melbourne. A couple more things I'd like to say to Councillor Fullerton, who is not running for the upcoming election. Thank you so much, Stephen, for the last 4 years. Your contribution has been fantastic. You have brought a nice comic edge to what is a very serious business, and you've always said the right things or the wrong things at the right time. So thank you very much on behalf of, I'm sure, all of the other councillors. Thank you for your 4 years. To Councillor Rothfield, sorry, Councillor Fullerton, were you?
Can I just make a comment, Councillor? Sorry.
Very quickly, Councillor Fullerton, and I do have the mute button ready to go. So
keep your hands away.
Just quickly, I'd say we weren't going to do any comments, so quickly.
Yeah, no, I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for the support during the period. Look, it's a very challenging position. It is difficult if you have your own business, particularly, which is a problem. I'm very proud of some of the successes we've had for the island. With the we've actually turned things around and getting infrastructure here. The main item, and there have been many failures, I must admit. But
thank you, Councillor Fullerton. That'll do. Thank you for your 4 years.
I'd like to address them all, but I won't.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton, and your time has been very much appreciated. Also to you, Pam, for your 4 years, 2 years of incredible leadership as Mayor. and then 2 years as a fantastic councillor as well. I thank you so much for your service on behalf of all the other councillors on screen as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's lovely. And I just quickly would say that I look back, 4 years. It's just gone in the blink of an eye. And we were 8, well, we were 9 actually, strangers, perfect strangers, most of us. And some of us, especially battling on the island in those election years, we weren't the closest of friends. In fact, one of you was number 9 on my how to vote card. I hate to confess, but
Thank you.
And wait a second, it's really been a surprise how close we have become, and it's been a privilege working with everybody. It's been a privilege working with 2 great CEOs, Paul Buckley and Ali has been absolutely amazing, and I'm so pleased that the new council is under your command, Ali. I think that, so to speak. I know we're in good shape. I know we're in good shape with you guys at the helm. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I wish you all well, and I wish the next council to be as successful as this one was. So good luck.
Thank you, Pam. I've never been able to stop you talking, Pam, so why even start now? I'd also like to wish the other 6 councillors that are running for the upcoming council all the best. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with each and every one of you, so I do wish you all the best in the upcoming election. And on the final note, I would like to say to Alison Jones, who's not on the screen anywhere, AJ, and I get to look at AJ while I say this. So AJ, the last 4 years have been fantastic. I didn't know you from a bar of soap when I first got here, and you've been amazing. An amazing person to talk to in an official capacity, but also an unofficial capacity as well. So I wish you all the best in your venture, okay, over the Stresleckies, over the hill to South Gippsland Shire. I know you'll smash it, and the South Gippsland Shire are a better organisation for having you there. So all the best for your next venture. Well done, AJ. That brings to a close our very last council meeting. So well done, everybody. With the adoption of agenda item H7, council meeting schedule update, the next ordinary council meeting will be held on the 25th of November 2020, commencing at 1 o'clock. So I would like to thank everybody that is still watching for the opportunity for my last 2 years as Mayor as well. It's been an honour and a privilege to represent this magnificent group of councillors and also to represent the community. So thank you for watching the live stream, and don't forget to get your votes in, and the meeting is now closed. Thank you. We'll just pause for the end of communications.